Welcome back. Jake Simons here once again. Today, we're going to be talking about how to navigate the REC Foundation's website. The REC Foundation, if you remember from a previous video, is kind of like the NBA of basketball. They're the organization, the overarching organization that oversees all of VEX robotics in the entire world. They're an amazing organization that does a fantastic job of providing opportunities for our kids. They have a website that has incredible resources for you, and they've recently revamped it so that it is incredibly user-friendly for you. But before we dive into that, I do need to kind of correct a mistake that I made in an earlier video. If you remember in the how to register your team for tournaments video from a while back, I had mentioned that you get 2 early bird registrations. That is now changed. There are now 3 early bird registrations per team. So if you remember, I was talking about it's kind of like a Disney Fast Pass where you get 3 fast passes to bypass everybody and get right into the roller coaster of the ride. This year, there are 3 opportunities to sign up for tournaments in the early bird registration rather than 2. So make sure you understand that before you start using your early bird passes and signing up for tournaments. With that being said, why don't you go to recf.org and we will dive right in. We are at recf.org, the Robotics Education and Competition Foundation website, right out of the gate. It is a beautiful, smooth, well-organized website. Go ahead and click on Start Here, and you can read a couple of these paragraphs, or just click on VEX IQ Robotics Competition Grades 4 through 8. And it brings up about 9 different tabs that you can click on with a bunch of information. Now, I'm going to warn you, there's a lot of information. There are a lot of links that you can click on. The expectation is not that you just sit down for the next 15 hours and read through all of that. Although if that's the way you do things, then you do you. But just star this website and come back to it as needed. Everything that you need to know in order to run a strong team and have a successful season is going to be here and on the TechPoint Foundation for Youth website as well. So if you click on robots, for example, it goes through the entire engineering design process, which is obviously the foundation of everything that we are doing. This is something that you definitely need to go through with your students so that they understand the process as well. The hero bot that we talked about last week, or sorry, not last week. I don't know when these videos are being uploaded, but you can click on that link and it shows you the hero bot that associates with this year's game and different basic mechanisms that you could build prior to a practice to show your students. These are simple prototypes within the student-centered policy, actually created by the students of a friend of mine, Trayton Dansby, down in Bixby, Oklahoma. But I'll just go ahead and click on one of these just so you can see, because they are step-by-step build instructions, which is incredibly helpful. Very primitive prototypes, easy for you to build. Bring it to a practice, show your students how this mechanism works, and teach them all of that. It goes through all the parts that you're going to need step by step by step. A great resource. We are super appreciative of Trayton and his kids for creating all of these links here for you. So click on those and build those. And by the way, just a little side note here, one of the best things that you can do as a coach is to start building stuff on your own. Not for your kids, but build stuff on your own so that you are familiar with how the pieces work together so that you can guide your students on how to put them together as well. And then obviously some coding help as well. Go back here. Here is a whole link, a bunch of links on your engineering notebook. You will want to go through these for sure if you want to be eligible for an excellence award or a design award or an innovate award at competitions. Then you should go through these and talk with your kids about the importance of that in creating an engineering notebook, and definitely the difference between an engineering notebook and a team journal, because that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that I see when judging at competitions. And speaking about judging at competitions, that was one of the best things that I could have ever done for one of my teams or for my program, is signing up to be a judge, volunteering to be a judge at several competitions. I was even a judge advisor at several competitions as well. But if you do not have time to be a judge or a judge advisor, everything that you need to know about the judging process can be found in the Guide to Judging. So everything that the judges talk about behind closed doors, what they do at competitions, what they're looking for in awards, the different rubrics that they're going to be using, what they're looking for, the questions they're asking during team interviews, what they're talking about during deliberations, basically everything that you need to know in order to win certain judged awards. That is valuable information for you to know, for you to then talk with your students and teach them the things that they should be doing at competitions and the interviews, and the way that they should be structuring and building their engineering notebook. That's not cheating, by the way. That is using your resources and being prepared. I've been to so many competitions as a judge or judge advisor where it is evident that the kids are not prepared. The interviews are not polished. The notebooks are not structured well. And it is not saying at all that you are telling them what to say in interviews, that you are creating a script for them in interviews. It's simply preparing them, using the rubrics, using the questions. If you qualify for the world championship, they will actually provide you with the questions that they are going to ask you in the interviews. And so it is just yet another preparation tool that you can use in order to better prepare your students to do well and have success at a competition. In the competitions tab, you can have different, you can click on different tabs here. Obviously, we don't need to worry about the World Championship quite yet. And if you want to ever go back and look at old games dating all the way back to the first season, 2012, Rings and Things, those videos and information are there. But everything else that you need to know about tournaments and competitions are there as well. There's a link for students and parents, which is incredibly helpful, different resources that they can use and have. And then obviously the boring tab here, the forms and policies, talking about the student-centered policy, which is incredibly important, the code of conduct, which is incredibly important. We're going to do a video on those later on, but all of these different policies and forms that they would have, again, get yourself familiar with those. And then the game manual is there. And then we talked about this, we referenced this in the last video on how to navigate the VEX Robotics website, going on the VEX library. This is, again, information overload. Incredibly helpful if you are teaching a class, for example, maybe stepping outside of the competition realm and doing some camps or whatever. But a lot of different links that you can click through here, teaching you the different parts and aspects of VEX Robotics. I remember being really intimidated by the VEX Robotics website, the RECF website, robotevents.com, even the TechPoint Foundation for Youth website. But I promise the more you navigate through them, the more comfortable you're going to feel. And quite honestly, guys, the best tool to learn is to just do it, to just start your team, go to some competitions. I remember the night before my very first competition 9 seasons ago, I was scared to death. I could not sleep at all. I had no idea what to expect, what was going to come the next day, how long it was going to be. Were people even going to be in the stands? Is this like a spectator thing? I was just terrified. So all of those websites, get familiar with them, but ultimately you just kind of have to fall forward, experience it with your kids, and hopefully you can be a little bit more prepared because of these websites than I was the first several seasons that I was a coach. In the next couple of episodes, we are going to be talking about how to recruit your team, how to form your team after you've recruited students, just kind of a season overview, season calendar, obviously going through the student-centered policy and code of conduct, coaching support, understanding the rules, and breaking down the game manual. And then I promise we will get into some actual footage of kids working with kids, our middle school Rising Phoenix team working with our elementary Bellbots team. And that's going to be the fun, exciting stuff. All this stuff at the beginning of the season isn't super fun. It's just building that foundation and that knowledge so that when you do get to meet with your students for the first time, you have a base that you can rely on. Until then, take care.